to be a cowboy. All right, we're off, you guys. First thing I want to tell you guys about is this little hotel just to the right of us there. That's the Manger Hotel, built in 1859. It's the oldest hotel here in Texas. And you are not only welcome, but you are encouraged to go in the lobby there and have a look around. They have a bunch of cool stuff they've collected from their many, many years in business here in San Antonio. Inside the Manger Hotel is also the Manger Bar. That's where Teddy Roosevelt recruited some of the Rough Riders. You might hear that about the Buckhorn Saloon a little bit later, but the cool thing about the Manger Bar is it has never ever changed locations. It's always been right there. You guys can stop on in there, have yourself a drink, and sit in the very same seat Teddy Roosevelt sat in. If you're not exactly sure which seat that is, just go ahead and sit in all the seats. The Alamo's just in front of us there on the right-hand side. They have a new exhibit on the left-hand side, and of course, they've got some barricades in the middle of the road, so we don't get to drive up there. In fact, I'm not sure why that car is sitting right there. But anyway, we're going to take a little detour here. There's a new exhibit on the left-hand side. People are climbing up those stairs there. You might be able to see at least those stairs from here. What they've done is recreated the southwest corner of the wall. And on the top of the southwest corner of the wall, they've put a replica of an 18-pound cannon. That cannon played a kind of interesting role during the siege of the Alamo here on the southwest corner of the wall. So the Mexican army, they were using a small church about a half a mile to the left of us as their headquarters during the battle, or during the siege of the Alamo. And they had raised a little red flag above that church building that meant they weren't going to take any prisoners. As a show of defiance, the defenders of the Alamo, they fired a couple shots from that 18-pound cannon at that little red flag. I don't think they hit it. Probably pretty hard to hit anything with one of those cannons, let alone a little red flag. Anyway, you guys can climb up those stairs, take a close look at that cannon, and read a little bit more about that story. I'll tell you a little bit more about that little church building later on. All right, my goodness, that was ridiculous. Just to the left of us there is the River Center Mall, you guys. You picked the bus up there at the River Center Mall, and you might have noticed a steeple sticking out of the side of the mall there. That steeple belongs to the St. Joseph Basilica. It was completed in 1876 or 1878, one of the two. Anyway, that of course that church was there long before the mall was built there. They built that mall in the 1980s. When they built that mall, they wanted to knock that church down and use up that entire 3-block area there, but the church didn't want to sell, which I think is kind of cool. I kind of think it's cool to have that old church right there in the middle of that mall. It's definitely a better looking building than the mall. Well, they went ahead and built the mall around the church there. When they finished that mall, though, they realized that they had encroached on the church's property by 6 whole inches. And the church was pretty cool about that. They said, that's fine, you guys, no problem. Give us $100,000, we'll call it even. This was in the 1980s, and that doesn't sound like a lot of money to me, but the developers of the mall sure thought that was a lot of money. He said, no way, Jose, just like that, I think. Looked him right in the eye, said, no way, Jose, you're crazy. $100,000 for 6 inches of land? Now we're going to let you guys take us to court, and we're going to let a judge decide, but we're pretty sure he's not going to give you $100,000. So that's what they did. They let the church take him to court. And the judge, of course, did side in the favor of the church. And instead of $100,000, the judge awarded the church $1 million for every inch they encroached on the church's property. So that $100,000 bill turned into a $6 million bill just like that. Somebody got in trouble for that one, I know. Isn't that insane? I'm thinking like they were at the end of the project and, whoever was the project manager or something got that $100,000 for his bonus if he didn't spend it, and he tried to save that money. Anyway, somebody, probably got fired. I'd have fired him. It's the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center just in front of us there on the right. It's been a while since we've had a big convention in there. We used to have one in here every week. We would have 20, 30, 80,000 people in here in town for a convention there. It's been a long time now. I'm sure we'll get back to that though. One of the fun parts about this detour is we get to see one of the best restaurants here in San Antonio. Just across the street on the right-hand side, you guys, it's America's Diner. That's Denny's. Denny's is always open, and I don't like to brag. Well, yes, I do like to brag. I've been there quite a few times myself, you guys. There's a table there with my name on it. Tell them you want the bus driver special. And tell them Nicholas sent you, and what you'll get is a really funny look. The Alamo was built in 1718, originally called Mission San Antonio de Valero. During the Battle of the Alamo here in 1836, there's about 200 defenders of the Alamo here. And they were divided into two different groups of soldiers. The regular Texas Army, led by William Barrett Travis, and then the volunteer soldiers, and they were led by James Bowie. And of course the defenders of the Alamo were joined a little bit later by famed frontiersman Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett was down here because he was sent down here by General Sam Houston. General Sam Houston was the general over the entire Texas Army, and he sent Davy Crockett down here along with a few men in order to bring some of the cannons out of the Alamo. Because General Houston didn't want to lose those cannons when we lost the Alamo mission to the Mexican Army. When Davy Crockett got here, though, with those few men, he said he didn't have enough horses to bring any of those cannons out. So instead, he stayed to help fortify the Alamo, help defend the Alamo, and of course, he died in that final battle here. The Mexican Army arrived on February 23rd, 1836. There's about 2,000 Mexican soldiers here. At the head of the Mexican Army was General Santa Anna. General Santa Anna, he was also the president of Mexico at the time. He personally led the army up here in order to retake the Alamo. They finally succeeded in doing just that. March 6th, 1836, that was the final battle here. Once the Mexican Army got over the outer wall, the defenders of the Alamo, they fled into the church and the long barracks. That building we all recognize as the Alamo, that's the church building or the chapel that served the Alamo mission. In order to continue the fighting, the Mexican Army needed to get in those buildings. So they took one of those cannons that was defending the outer wall. They turned it around and used it to blast open the doors of the church building. And now General Santa Anna, told you about that little red flag he had raised. He wasn't going to take any prisoners because he really wanted to send a message to Texas. And so, of course, he told his troops to take no prisoners. So any defenders of the Alamo that tried to surrender during that final battle, they were immediately killed. And after that battle, of course, news spread throughout Texas, not just of the heroics and sacrifice of the defenders of the Alamo, but also of the cruelty and brutality of the Mexican Army under General Santa Anna. That really made the Texans mad and inspired many more Texans to join the Texas Army under General Sam Houston. That's not exactly the message Santa Anna wanted to send, but that's what he got. In September, in April of 1836, just a month later, the Texas Army launched a surprise attack against the Mexican Army. And with "Remember the Alamo" as their battle cry, they routed the Mexican Army in a matter of minutes. That battle only took 18 minutes or something like that. Not only did they rout the Mexican Army, they also captured General Santa Anna. And that, of course, was the deciding battle in Texas's war for independence from Mexico. We actually have 4 other missions here in San Antonio. They're not famous like the Alamo, of course. But like the Alamo, they are all built along the San Antonio River, and the Riverwalk goes to each and every one of them. The mission nearest the Alamo, that one's just 3 miles south. The one furthest away, that one's just 12 miles south of the Alamo. The biggest of those 4 missions is Mission San Jose. At Mission San Jose, they've rebuilt the wall that goes around it, so you can actually see what a mission would have looked like in the 1700s. They also have a visitor center and guided tours there. It's pretty cool. Got an old flour mill that was powered by the river, they'll show you. What else? Well, the cool old church there. That's pretty cool. If you get a chance to visit any of those missions, I definitely recommend you check them out. They are pretty cool. There's another little puppy there to the left of us. Oh, there was two of them. One was hiding in the bushes. We'll be at the Pearl Entertainment Complex here in just, probably 3 minutes. So the Pearl was an old brewery. It was built in 1883. They brewed beer there all the way up until 2001. And it was about that same time that the city of San Antonio was making plans to extend the Riverwalk up this way. And that brought in some investors who bought that old Pearl Brewery building and turned it into a beautiful hotel. It's the Emma Hotel now. If you guys look to the left as we come under the freeway here, you might be able to see 3 little domes sticking up above the freeway. That's the top of the Emma Hotel. The old Pearl Brewery. There it is. You also see the smokestack left over from when it was a brewery. The Emma Hotel was just voted the 11th nicest hotel in the United States. That was by TripAdvisor or Yelp, one of those online rating systems anyway. And Cher stayed here once. She said it could possibly be the nicest hotel she stayed in anywhere in the world. And if you guys know Cher like I do, that's pretty high praise. She does not give out compliments like that lightly. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I don't know Cher. I'm sure she's a nice lady. Straight in front of us there is the Emma Hotel, the big beige brick building with the green glass windows and the 3 little domes on top. Looks like the farmer's market is over now. It'll be back tomorrow, though, at 10 a.m. Stop 2's coming up right over here where we drop you guys off. That's where we're going to pick you all up at. We are running every 30 minutes today. If you guys are looking for the Pearl Entertainment Complex, we found it. Stop number 2 for the Pearl. Take your time coming down the stairs, you guys.